Hello, my name's Laura Clippard, and welcome to the session about overseas, interning, and just kind of living overseas after graduation. This workshop is designed for incoming students, so welcome to MTSU, to graduating seniors to graduate students. And the purpose behind it is kind of just to give you a sampling of what's available. You do not have to be an honors college student to apply for some of these. However, some of them do require you to be a US citizen, so you want to check the background on that. So what I'm going to do is go through a PowerPoint, but I will also go through some of the websites, and you are welcome to follow up with me. There's a way to schedule on the website, or you can just email me at laura.clippard@mtsu.edu. EDSU, excuse me. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. So basically, if we look at the options here, we can see that our fellowship office works with people who want to study abroad, people in STEM, public policy, lots more options. You don't have to be an honors college student to apply. The type of things that are available typically are things related to English teaching. There's quite a few available. Internships, teaching positions, graduate school options, there are fewer of those. And then some are kind of a mixture. I should put a big asterisk here saying that the funding and the websites are subject to updates and changes. So you always want to look on the website to see what the latest information is. To be competitive, it is really important that you be able to talk about yourself. And to talk about yourself, you need to keep a strong record of what you have done, not just the dates and activities, but also your leadership role. How did you make a difference in your organization? You want to reach out to other people at MTSU to find out what opportunities are available. This can include your faculty, this can include your advisor. Some fellowships and some opportunities do have GPA requirements, so you want to check those. And I usually tell students it's important to pursue things that you truly care about. So just doing things because you want to do them or they look good on a resume, it's not going to be as meaningful for you, and you will have more difficulty when it comes to writing about those in your essays. So I'm going to pause here for a minute. For those of you that are watching this video, if you want to go to that website, you can play around with it. And now I'm going to stop sharing, and I am going to go to that website and kind of go through a few things with you. So this is the Honors College website. If you go to the Honors College website, the information is at the top. You can see welcome, important information, fellowship and scholarships. This is going to be under the Undergraduate Office, and this is the homepage that we are located. So if you want to make an appointment, you can make an appointment here. If you want information about people who have won, so I'm very proud of our past winners, so we can go to the cumulative list and we can say all the different opportunities and the students that have applied and received them. You can click on names here to find a little news article about each of these students. So that's a really good resource if you're just curious about that kind of thing. There's also a list of the different opportunities. So if we go back to National Fellowships and we click there, that pulls down a menu. And so I would encourage you to explore this menu. So if you're interested in studying abroad, you don't want to look just at this website. You also want to contact Education Abroad and look at their website. You want to talk to faculty, you want to talk to your college. But you can see, for example, there's a scholarship called Phi Kappa Phi, which offers $1,000. Now, the GPA requirement is the 3.75 for that one. You can also look at postgraduate opportunities. We're going to talk about some of those here. So for example, you can see that if you're interested in STEM research, there's something called the SMART Grant, and it is tied to national defense. There's also the opportunity, um, oops, let me go back that under the overseas opportunities. Oh yeah, I think I did hit the right button. Okay. So for example, we're going to talk a little bit more about the JET program. We're going to talk about the Princeton in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. And then there's a database that we'll go through here. But if you're interested in more than one thing, say, for example, you're STEM, but you want to be overseas, you probably need to take some time and explore both of these tabs. So that's kind of our website. And now we are going to go back. So I want to talk a little bit about things related to graduate school. I will say that this is the smallest category. All right. So there's not a ton of scholarships and fellowships related to paying for graduate school. I truly wish there were more. Um, this is the McCall McBain Scholarship. And as you can see by reading through the description, it is for Canada. All right. It pays your tuition, it pays your fees, living expenses, and that type of thing. It includes French language course and leadership. And it's a really good option for students. There's a new scholarship. There are some dates on this PowerPoint, but you are encouraged to look directly at the website. But there is one connected to getting a master's degree in France. It is literally brand new as making up this video, which is Ball of 25, and 20 students from the US will be selected. So this one's a really good option. Actually, the DAAD in general has a lot of opportunities in Germany. So if you want to get a fully funded master's degree in any discipline and go to Germany, I encourage you to learn more about this scholarship. There's also a database for DAAD. For example, they have STEM opportunities for undergraduates called the DAAD Rise. If you are a graduate student and you want to do research in Germany, there's the DAD Professional. Or if you're getting ready to graduate, you could also apply for the professional. So there's just so many opportunities connected to Germany. There's also opportunities connected to the UK. Again, these are not all of them, but we did have a student from MTSU just recently win the Gates Cambridge. It is for students that want to get their master's degree or PhD from the University of Cambridge. And we help with the interview process. And if you get, the application process. And if you get an interview, we help you prepare as well. So that is a good opportunity. Now, Fulbright. I have a Fulbright slide in here, but we're going to circle back. So Fulbright has opportunities for graduate school. It is the smallest category, and you have to be careful about reading the Fulbright website so that you don't miss some of the small print. Because sometimes Fulbright will pay for you to go overseas, but they don't pay for the graduate school classes. Sometimes they pay for the full program. So you really kind of have to dig down into the fine print and the opportunities to learn more. So I would like to take a minute and look yet at another resource. So if you want to take a picture of this, we'll go to this resource now. So this is the link on that first website that I showed you. It's under resources. So these are opportunities connected to teaching overseas or living overseas. So if we look at this list, we can see that if you want to go to Austria and you want to teach English, there's a special program for that, okay? There's also programs connected to Spain, and there's the JET program, programs in Korea, North America, Thailand, Princeton, and Asia. So I'll pull those up. There's also some other programs. The Catholic Volunteer Network is a good one, Peace Corps. So it typically requires about a 2-year commitment, and there are 6 sub areas that you can apply for. And if you're interested in the Peace Corps, I typically recommend that you talk directly to the representative. Sometimes I've known them to actually sort of volunteer to help you with your application or give you suggestions. So this is a really good list on our website. What I usually tell students is if you are interested in being overseas, so you're like, I would like to take a year, 6 months, 9 months, 2 years, whatever it is, and be overseas in a foreign country, you probably want to apply to more than one opportunity. So if you were getting a job, for example, you wouldn't say, okay, I know I need a part-time job. I'm going to apply and I'm going to put them on one application at Walmart. And that's all I'm doing. I'm just going to sit by my cell phone and wait for them to call me or text me. No, you would apply at Target, you would apply at Walgreens, you would apply multiple places. So if you want to apply at, if you want to be overseas, take that same advice. Look at all the different opportunities. A lot of times, the materials that you have to put forth, which we'll talk about some of that in a minute, but the information that you have to put forth is the same. So once you write one set of essays or do a CV or resume, you could probably use that same set of materials for something else. There are opportunities related to English teaching. That's a huge category. Typically, you don't have to have an English degree or an English minor, that most of the programs actually prefer people from a wide variety of backgrounds. So if I were going to use Fulbright as an example, I had a student who was a biology major who ended up getting a teaching Fulbright in South Korea. So you don't have to necessarily have a degree. So I am going to kind of give a brief overview of these programs so we can say that this one is in Austria and you teach in secondary schools. It is funded by the government and it is open to US citizens only. Okay, they don't pay your airfare over there, but they do pay other costs. I have met students who have done this program, and it's really a great program and a good opportunity. There's also the opportunity to teach in Spain, and this is sponsored directly by the government of Spain. And when I talk about doing multiple applications, so let's just say that you are interested in developing your Spanish language skills. So you might apply for a Fulbright teaching position in Spain or Mexico or one of those places. And then you might put a secondary application in at the North American Language and Cultural Program. Okay. And I happen to know the timeline for this one, but Fulbright typically is due by October, but that's about the time that this program opens. So this program opens in about November and will close in about January in terms of the application. So you can develop your application and materials for Fulbright and then further tweak those and use this for a secondary application with this program. So that works quite nicely together. The English teaching program or EPIC program is run by South Korea. Again, there is also a Fulbright for South Korea. And you can see that there are some really specific requirements here. So you kind of have to read through the fine print to make sure it's a good match for you. And so here I said that typically they don't want English teaching, but if we look at requirements, it actually wants a TEFL certification. There is the Teach in Thailand, and they actually provide housing and a lot of other things. They do not cover airfare. So again, you have to kind of look at the small print, and they have 2 application cycles. And Fulbright, and again, we're going to circle back to the Fulbright to talk a little bit about that. And we'll take a few minutes and we will actually explore the Fulbright website. There's also the Teach and Learn in Georgia program, and it's open to people from any country, and the deadline is typically in July. So this one you would probably do before the Fulbright. So this is the JET program. I actually know a lot about the JET program. My daughter was a JET for 5 years. And in addition to that, I have served on the interviewing committee with the consulate here. So I do not get to read MTSU applications, obviously, but I get to read applications from other students and rate them. So if you're interested in JET, I would encourage you definitely to meet with me, definitely to let me read your materials. In terms of reading your materials, I can read them, but I usually encourage students to also have like the Writing Center, their faculty reading over them, the Career Development Center as well. So in terms of JET, what is JET? JET is the largest English teaching program and is run by the Japanese government, and it promotes the bridge of friendship between Japan and the US. And these are paid jobs. So for example, there's quite a bit of variety in terms of how long the programs are. So the Fulbright, the average stay for the Fulbright is about 9 months. For JET, you can stay 1 to 5 years. My daughter did a 5-year JET, and she was an ALT, or an English Assistant Language Teacher. There's also coordinators of international relationship. The biggest thing between these two programs is the ALT requires less Japanese. Sometimes you don't have to have any Japanese to apply for an ALT. And the other position requires quite a bit. So let's talk about what an ALT is. An ALT is you team teach as an assistant, you motivate students. You do not have to, for example, have an English teaching background in terms of your major or minor. They do like students who have employment, okay, a part-time job of some sort while they're in college, or even a full-time job will help you. If you have any experience in teaching and tutoring, that will also help you, particularly if you have any experience with English teaching or tutoring. And they kind of want to know why you are interested in Japan. They also want you to be involved outside of the classroom. So again, that bridge of friendship is really important to them. What makes a great JET? They want people who are basically very flexible and adaptable. So Japan is a wonderful place. I have visited it many times because of my daughter, but it is definitely different. So they want people who have a positive attitude, a sense of humor, and have a genuine interest in Japan and cross-cultural exchange. I do need to clarify, I think, that you do not need Japanese skills, although MTSU has a Japanese major and minor, which is wonderful, but you don't have to have Japanese skills. They may ask you during your JET interview, how you're learning Japanese, because if you're going to live over there, you probably need to at least self-study the language. So that may be a question that comes up, but it is not required to apply. In fact, our JET coordinator, he likes to talk about he majored in Italian before he went over for his JET. So the application timeline for JET, it usually becomes available in late September. The application closes in mid-November. And then there are typically in Nashville, there are Zoom interviews, and you find out whether you get it in April. Okay. I'm going to go to the JET website. I think the next slide is talking about the application components, but you have to fill out and have 2 references. For all of these opportunities, you typically need 2 to 3 references. And so that's why it's important to keep in touch with your professors and faculty. However, okay, it doesn't always have to be a faculty member that is your reference. Sometimes it can be an advisor, it can be an employer, it can be a place that you volunteer. You have to submit official transcripts and have proof of graduation. You also have to do a little bit of essay writing, and in your statement of grant purpose, you'll talk about why you're interested in being an assistant teacher, if that's what you're applying for. and why you're interested in Japan. And again, there's also some additional things, including a physical form, an FBI check, although typically that's much later in the process that you do that. So I think what I'd like to do now is stop share. So this is the JET website. You can see that the application is closed now, but you can look at this for information. There are some videos here about the JET experience. We are also holding a JET event, fall, and this is fall of 25. We are having one September 25th. And it will be a Zoom event. And so if you're interested in that, send me an email. You can dig through the website here. You can find information about the JET program, what they want. I mentioned be interested in Japan, be a citizen of the United States, have a bachelor's degree, and that type of thing. There's information about the salary and benefits. So you do get paid a salary, and it tells you like year one, year two, what the different salary is, placements in Japan where you could be potentially placed, how to apply, required documents. If you are a current JET, it has information about resources, has frequently asked questions for the application. So it's quite an extensive website. And again, I am here to help you with the process. I encourage you to reach out to me to find out the most current information about our upcoming events, and we can discuss how to strengthen your application. So that is information about JET. There are also opportunities that are kind of mixed. So in terms of the application, there are things that are a little mixed, okay? So there is the Princeton in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. I know the most about the Princeton in Asia. It is a free program to apply to. There is no cost to apply. And essentially, it's a placement in Asia. So it's not necessarily Japan, it's not Korea. So it is not just teaching, okay? There's other opportunities, and its deadlines match pretty well with Fulbright and JET. So you can see the early internal deadline is October, and then there's an external deadline there as well. So you can reach out to me for more information. There's the Peace Corps. Again, it's a 2-year program, and the areas include teaching, health, construction, and community and development. It's a very long-term program. And then there's Fulbright. I'm going to go through these slides, and then I'm going to circle back and go through some of the things on the website. So the mission of Fulbright is mutual understanding. We want to understand other countries. They want to understand us. And there's a lot of different types of Fulbrights. So they're broadly divided into 2 categories, but even within the top category, study or research, there's a lot of subcategories. So for example, there is creative Fulbrights, there's graduate school Fulbrights. So the first step in Fulbright, and I get the question I get all the time is, can't I want to apply for a teaching Fulbright and a research Fulbright? Unfortunately, you can only apply to one type of Fulbright, and you can only apply to one particular country. For the research Fulbright, it tends to be a little bit more complicated than the other ones. The teaching Fulbright, they place you. So for research, you kind of have to place yourself. And for teaching, they're like, okay, you speak Spanish, you want to go to Spain, we're going to put you in Madrid, okay? There are some graduate school options, but those may be limited. And the Fulbright is very much about the country. So each country can kind of set its own requirements. So you really kind of want to dig into the country to find out what those requirements are. The Fulbright is live now. I know this workshop is for incoming students to graduate students, but if you want to apply for a Fulbright now, you should contact me ASAP. We typically set an internal deadline, like for this year of 25, the internal deadline is August the 22nd, but people can apply after that. The reason that we set an internal deadline is that we want to give the opportunity to meet with faculty, and faculty review your materials. They can give you feedback, and you can go in and change your material. The external deadline for this year is October the 5th. Okay. And then in January is where you find out whether you move forward for Fulbright or not. So I am going to stop sharing before I hit our final thoughts, excuse me, and we will go to some of the websites. This is the Princeton and Asia website, and you can see information about them. And if we click here, we can see that they have a lot of different internships and what's included in that type of thing. You don't have to be a Princeton student to apply for the Princeton in Asia. Okay. So that's kind of what the website, there's also a Princeton Africa and a Princeton in Latin America. Each program has different requirements. So I want to just introduce that, and then I'm going to stop and I am going to dig into Fulbright a bit. Typically, Fulbright is our most popular program. A question that I'm getting now is, well, I'm hearing a lot of stuff about Fulbright funding. Is it still going to be around? Fulbright is federally funded. I encourage students to reach out to me and or check the website for the latest news. Right now, everything's a go. It's green light, but I'm encouraging students to apply for federal opportunities because the funding is currently still there, but also to apply for non-federal opportunities. So circling back, JET is funded by the Japanese government. The North American program in Spain is funded by the Spanish government. So there's a lot of programs out there that are not funded by the federal government. The Princeton in Asia is funded by Princeton and by private donations. So, you know, because this is a video, the most current information is either going to be on the website or you can reach out to me. This is what the Fulbright website. So usually what I encourage students to do is to look at the videos and tutorials. So if I look under tutorial here, okay, there is a 10-minute video about what the heck the Fulbright is. But if you're like, I know you just said that Fulbright is more complicated for research, but I'm really interested in research. There is a 6-minute video about the research. If you're interested in teaching, there's a teaching one. So that's really a good starting point. And then in terms of other information, you can look at the types of awards. So when I go under types of awards, I can see, oh, there's open research, there's teaching. Oh, looks like they have some specialty programs. So if we start at the teaching awards, okay, we can see that they have grants, they have business grants, they have journalism, and then this list at the bottom shows the graduate school options. Now, the graduate school options, it says, do you get a degree? Okay, graduate degree proposals. And so for some of these, the answer is yes, okay. But if we look over here, we can say, oh, this one is at a particular university. And at France, okay, it's a particular university. If we go down to South Korea, it looks like you will do Korean studies, okay. So sometimes it's connected to a particular program. So you can't just get a master's degree. Taiwan is very specific as well. The UK, it just says see the UK section. So I'm like, oh, okay, let's do that. So if I go to the UK section, it tells you there's different types of awards. It tells you the different colleges. And typically, if you're going to do a graduate school Fulbright or any type of award that is connected to graduate school, you're actually going to end up applying both for graduate school and the award at the same time. So if you selected, for example, okay, you're like, yeah, I want to go to Durham University. I want to get a master's degree at Durham University. You take the time, you read through all these sub requirements, and you're like, yes, this is me. You're going to probably need to apply both for the Durham University and the Fulbright at the same time. Now, to make things more complicated, okay, some awards require what I call an affiliation. An affiliation means, and that's where it gets complicated, is you have to have someone from that country, I picked Spain, write a letter for you and agree to work with you. How do you get someone from a foreign country to work with you? Well, maybe you studied abroad there, maybe you know a professor, or maybe you just do some cold calling where you email people. So here it says applicants must arrange their affiliation and submit a letter with whom they're going to research. So again, that can be more complicated. But if we go back to the types of awards, and you're like, well, I think I'm more interested in teaching. This drop-down menu, okay, has the different countries, how many slots they have, and whether host language is required, okay? So we can say, Laos has 12 spots. Where do they put people? Up 20 hours a week. So a lot of times you're not working 35 hours or 40 hours for Fulbright. You may only be working part-time, no language required. But you still have to go back to the link for that country and find out. For example, if we were to look at South Korea, okay, says, oh, this looks great. South Korea has a sub requirement that you have to be under age 30, and they also want you to live with a family, okay? Now, this is the only Fulbright that I know of that has any kind of age requirement. But again, you kind of have to dig in. I mentioned the creative Fulbrights, and then I didn't follow up with that. But here you can see, oh, there are creative and performing Fulbrights. And then there's information about what you submit and what you have to do. So I'm interested in music, particularly I'm interested in voice. There's information that you have to submit, okay, and that type of thing. So just to circle back for Fulbright, the simplest kind of Fulbright is the English teaching, okay? The graduate schools are pretty straightforward. You have to apply both for the country and for the graduate school, and then the research are the most complicated. What do you typically have to do? So the application components for Fulbright are listed on the website without having to open up an application. So I'm interested in English teaching, okay, basic background, okay, and then you have to put information about yourself, and then you have to write some essays, okay, and the essay is essentially like, what training do you have that prepare you to be an English teaching assistant? I want to emphasize that Fulbright is not necessarily looking for people who have English degrees or teaching degrees, okay? So if you have volunteered in your church teaching, or you have worked on campus as a tutor, or you have some experience in the community, maybe you're an SOA, which is the person that helps people during orientation. So there's a lot of variety. Sometimes people say that they don't have any, and then we kind of dig around. And then there's also short answers, okay, that you have to do in here. And of course, you have to have recommendations. Now, the other thing for Fulbright, okay, and we will go to their search engine, okay, is they do have a search engine here that you can look around in. Let's see if I can find it. Award search, okay. So you can dig around here in the award search, dependent available. Some Fulbrights allow you to bring people. So I'm just going to say, oh, who provides dependent support? So I can find information out that way. So the Fulbright is quite a complicated website. So I typically recommend that you start with those videos that I showed you here. And if you go up under About, Videos and Tutorials, that's a really, really good place to start. I'd like to end with kind of what the Fellowship Office is, okay? So we can help you kind of by looking at the fellowships and opportunities available. I encourage you to explore our website. You can also schedule a time with me, and we can talk about strategic planning. So if you are an incoming freshman or you are a sophomore, you don't have to wait to meet with me. Because the applications typically they want to know why you're interested in the country. They want to know what your background is. So, some applications require a resume or a CV, a list of activities. They require references and they require essays. Okay. And they require transcripts. Now, do not use unofficial transcripts. Unofficial transcripts from MTSU do not have your name or MTSU on it, so it is very low cost. So I encourage you to go to the MTSU website and order official transcripts, which are available electronically. But I am here to support you, and I have a wonderful GA who can meet with you if I am not free. And thank you for your time and have a great day.